We're following the latest developments in Israel's north as well, along the border with Lebanon. Israeli radio sent out a warning this morning of a suspected infiltration near the border. It has since given the all clear, and there's been no immediate confirmation from Israeli authorities. But it gives you a very clear indication of how tense things are in that part of the region as well. Israel is ordering the evacuation of 28 villages within 2 kilometers of the border, following days of sporadic fire with Hezbollah, which is based in South Lebanon. We're going to begin with Rebecca Collard, who is in Beirut today.
More than 24 Israeli villages on the border with Lebanon have been asked to evacuate, that there will be this, several kilometers of kind of a no-go zone for Israelis. I will say, despite that, this morning has been relatively quiet on that southern border with Lebanon, the northern border of Israel. And of course, that comes after this real escalation yesterday. So we have really seen kind of an escalating level of clashes on that border over the last 10 days. So, rocket fire in one direction, rocket fire back, Israeli strikes on southern Lebanon. But yesterday we saw that escalate quite significantly. Hamas alone said they fired 20 rockets from southern Lebanon, into Israel. Hamas using actually releasing a video of their fighters hitting an Israeli tank with an anti-tank missile, and of course Lebanon, and of course Israel responding, and civilian deaths on both sides. So it was quite a significant escalation, and I think that's why we're hearing now from Israeli authorities that they are making these precautions on the border, Heather.
You know, Rebecca, the United States has been very explicit in its warnings to any other players in the region not to take advantage of what is happening between Israel and Hamas, not to seek to move in, not to open another front in this. What are we hearing from the various players involved? This
trip by Anthony Blinken across the region really shows you how seriously the U.S. and other Western governments are taking the risk of escalation on Lebanon's southern border with Israel's northern border. What we've heard kind of from the beginning from Iran, from Hezbollah, is that, if Israel escalates what is happening in Gaza, then they will escalate here. And that has kind of been the line all along. And so, when I talk to people here in the last few days, Heather, one of the things that everybody seems to be waiting for is that if there is this ground invasion, which has seemed to be imminent for many days now, if Israel goes into Gaza, then they think that Hezbollah will start something on Israel's northern border. Now, the Iranians have kind of said something similar along those lines, saying Israel must de-escalate its attacks on Gaza or suffer the consequences. And of course, as you were saying, these repeated warnings by the U.S. that nobody else should try to open a front with Israel. That said, there were some interesting comments now from Iran saying, being asked, like, what will you do if what will you do if the U.S. gets militarily involved in this conflict? And Iran pointed out that the U.S. is really already militarily involved. They of course supply a lot of military aid to Israel. So, I will just finish by saying, Heather, despite all of this violence, these rockets across the border, these strikes by Israel in southern Lebanon, so far what we've seen has been, I think, a level of restraint that has shown that it seems that neither Hezbollah or Israel really want to open the front for the time being, Heather.